Now, Shaw Taylor presents The Law Game. Do you know as much about the law as you should? Discover the answer to that by joining us for The Law Game. It's an entertainment in which three well-known people will show if they're naive or knowledgeable as they try to fathom out who won tonight's law cases and why. And providing the questions and the answers, as always, your chairman, Shaw Taylor.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to another half hour of drama, deliberation and doubtless a few laughs along the way. For new listeners, let me explain that we have a resident repertory company on hand to thesp their way through three entirely fictitious law cases, but each one is modelled on a real case that was judged in a court on the same points of law. And when I think the information has been given, at least enough information, I will cease their classic performance with this bell. That is when I challenge our celebrity panel to tell me who won the case and on what legal grounds. It's an even bet if they get that right, but I will dip into the coffers and give them the odds of 2 to 1 for coming up with the right reasons. On the bench tonight, our jovial judges are Derek Nimmo, Denise Coffey and Brian Johnston. Derek Nimmo, first and foremost, actor, writer and impresario. Now, you're a man who always seems to be travelling around the world and putting on plays. During your travels, have you ever crossed swords with the law?
Yes, I was in prison once, actually.
In prison?
Curious enough, yes, in the Vatican. I was filming some years ago a series called Oh Brother, and I was dressed as a monk, and I was in the great square of St. Peter's. And while they were setting up the cameras, I wandered off in my little rather mini sort of habit up onto the steps of the great basilica. And as I arrived there, a very charming Englishman said, would I mind having a snap taken with his equally charming daughter? So I put one arm or perhaps two around her, and he snapped away. And then I was just about to go back to the camera when suddenly I felt the hand, a very unfriendly hand on my shoulder, and I turned around, it was attached to the equally unfriendly arm of a Vatican policeman. And he had one of those Swiss Guard fellows there with a big spike. And they arrested me, and they took me back to a little cell beneath the curia, and I discovered, I'm loath to have to say this, but I discovered I'd been chopped by a nun who see me with my arm round this girl and thought that I was behaving either in a monkly way or carrying Christian love too far, as I don't know quite. But anyway, you see, I had nothing to say who I was. And I said that I was an actor, which didn't impress them, and I told them that I was with the BBC, which impressed them still less. And so I was put in this cell. It was so sort of silly to be, in Nick in the Vatican. Anyway, very luckily for me, after I'd been there all night, a very nice Irishman, an Irish monk, came in and was able to account for me. But it had been announced on the news that I'd been arrested. So in the end, I was a kind of hero, really. So it was very quite nice, actually.
Oh, right.
Any time I've ever been in jug, anyway.
And no visit from the nun. Well, Denise Coffey, you too act, write and direct, mostly, if I remember rightly, in Canada. Since your last appearance on The Law Game, have you and the law had any clashes?
Well, I haven't, but in my family, my great-aunt Bella had a brush with the law. She weighed about 22 stone, and she was on a train which stopped at a station, and as she was sauntering to get off, which took quite a bit of effort, the train went off, and she fell onto the platform, not best pleased, and actually sued the railway company. This was in the days before British Rail. And actually, her brush with the law was successful because she pointed out she was built for comfort, not speed. And the train had no business to go off till she'd got off the train. She won her case. It's the only time we've actually triumphed in the courts. I may tell you now, British Rail had better take note. She's slimmed down a lot now for intercity travel, so the trains can run on time now, please.
I would say on a 125, she wouldn't just fall off, she'd roll along the platform as well.
She'd bowl into a neighbouring county, I should think.
Brian Johnston, broadcaster, author, cricket enthusiast. Have you had occasion to tangle with the law?
I have, but not recently. Now, I've been rather lucky, touch wood. But a friend of mine was driving along one day, and his wife was in the back seat, and she was one of these back seat drivers. Say, look out, mind that lorry. You're over the line there. Look out, we're coming to a slippery bit of road. Mind this corner. And he was very miserable about it. But suddenly there was about 3 minutes of golden silence, and he drove on. And then suddenly a policeman came up on a motor bicycle and fanned him down and stopped him. And he unwound his window, and the policeman said, "Excuse me, sir, do you realise your back door is open, and a lady who claims to be your wife has fallen out about 3 miles back?" And he said, "Thank goodness for that, I thought I was going deaf."
Well, you've met the panel. Now it's time to meet the repertory company as they take us into tonight's first case. It came about because of a meeting at a famous public school between the headmaster and the parents of one of the boys.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Sutcliffe, let's get straight to the point. You asked to see me. What actually is the trouble?
It's Richard. He's in his final year now.
Yes, a fine lad. Works hard. High exam marks. Should go far. A boy you can be proud of.
We are, Headmaster, very proud. It's just this little problem. My husband spoke to Mr. Hedges.
Our sportsmaster?
Yes. His wife, Monica's on the same Women's Institute committee as I am.
My wife's chair of that committee, and that's where the trouble springs from, I'm afraid. Mrs. Hedges and Sheila don't get on.
Not since 2 years ago, when we both fought an election to be chairperson. I narrowly beat her the first year and got almost twice as many votes as her this year. She's never forgiven me.
I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Sutcliffe. But, of course, what my teachers' spouses do in their own time is no concern of mine, as long as it has no bearing on the welfare and education of our boys here.
It has. Well, that's why I had a word with Mr. Hedges, which got me absolutely nowhere before I asked for this appointment to see you.
I'm not sure I understand what it has to do with the school, but please do fill me in on the details, and I'll see if I can be of any help. I take it is connected with Richard in some way?
Yes, it is. Well, as you know, Headmaster, I am an old boy of this school myself.
Yes, and a distinguished one, if I may say so. We're all still very proud of those trophies you won for athletics. As a matter of fact, it wasn't till last year that one of our lads just pipped your record and won 5 cups for us in the inter-school games.
Yes, well, meanwhile, perhaps we'd better settle the reason we're here. Richard was doing extremely well in athletics in his first year.
He certainly was. Showed a lot of his father's talent and spirit. Pity that tendon injury put him out of the running. Otherwise, he might have had his name alongside your husband's in our Athletic Hall of Fame.
He could have. That's just the point. Well, the doctor pronounced him completely fit over a year ago.
We even got a second doctor's opinion, just to be sure.
Richard showed both doctors' letters to Mr. Hedges, but he was still never allowed to even try out for the school's athletics team.
It broke the boy's heart. He's always been very keen on running and sprinting and jumping, and with the right practice and coaching, I'm certain he could beat most of the current team.
With all due respect, Mrs. Sutcliffe, you are the boy's mother and would naturally have a biased opinion. Mr. Hedges has been sportsmaster here for 4 years and came to us with highest qualifications. I know that if he thought Richard best for the team, then Richard would have been chosen.
That's not true, Headmaster. Well, I have it from a reliable source that Hedges was overheard saying that while Mrs. Sutcliffe remains in the chair of the WI, her son will never get on any team he's in charge of.
A very serious accusation, Mr. Sutcliffe.
It's not an accusation, Headmaster, it's a fact. Our son is being kept out of the team through prejudice or malice or whatever you want to call it.
I cannot believe that.
Why not? Well, you yourself said Richard showed signs he could be a cup winner. Well, all right, so he had a few months out with that tendon trouble, but that's no reason for him to be ruled out forever.
Steve Ovett and Sebastian Cove both had worse injuries than that, but they came back to break world records.
Yes.
Richard's fully fit now, and he could do the same.
Obviously, Mr. Hedges doesn't share your opinion, and I fully respect Mr. Hedges and will stand by his decision.
But it's not his decision, it's his wife's.
I will not listen to this kind of talk against a member of my staff. I must ask you to either withdraw your accusation or leave my office at once.
It's all right. We're leaving, Headmaster. But I'll tell you now, unless Richard is granted a fair tryout for the team within the next 4 weeks, I'm suing this school for not observing the rules of natural justice, and I hope it costs you your job.
Because you're not doing it properly.
Good day to you.
Well, what a carry-on. I can tell you this panel that the headmaster did nothing about it, and the Sutcliffes took the school to court for, as they said, not observing the rules of natural justice, the rules which ensure that we are all treated fairly. Now, did they win, or did the school win, and why? Derek Nimmo, what do you think?
I myself would have thought that the headmaster had every reason to believe in what the sportsmaster had said. And I don't myself think that the parents had a case. Parents always mistakenly, and this is my own personal experience, believe their children to be far more able and better and talented than perhaps they really are. And I don't think that any rule of natural justice has been broken.
Fair enough. Denise, Coffey.
I'm not sure if there is such a thing as being sued for observing the rules of natural justice. I mean, if there's any natural justice, we'd all be at the Ritz for dinner, wouldn't we, ladies and gentlemen? Sitting with our knives and forks in our hands at this very moment. Huge bank balances. So I don't know if at the moment I'm going along with Derek that the headmaster would win the case.
And the Sutcliffes would lose. Brian, what do you think?
I'd like to know whether Mr. Hedges went into the box. Was he asked whether he had actually said it? And what did he reply to that?
He went into the box, but he denied having made the remark.
Well, I think then, on that basis, that the school would win quite easily, because if all parents took to selecting their team, their sons, which team they're going to play in, I mean, there'd be a first team consisting of the number of boys in the school, because everybody thinks their son. So I don't think there's any case. I mean, it's just a matter of judgment. I think the school would win quite easily.
All right, all three of you go for the same answer. You think the school won. Now, let's have a look at the points. You've got 50 points each to bet. Derek, how many of your 50 will you bet that you are right?
I think I'll just bet 15, probably.
I will double it if you've got the right legal reasons for this, if you are right. Denise, Coffey.
I think I'll just bet 10.
Oh,
yes. I've been caught this way before. Maverick voting.
There's a canny lass, Brian Johnston.
I'll bet 16.
All right, now, were you right or wrong? Did the Sutcliffes win? No, they didn't. They lost their case. You're absolutely right. The court held, and you didn't give me any legal reasons on this, the court held that as the boy would have received no reward except the honour of winning if he'd been selected, the rules of natural justice didn't apply. That rules of natural justice do exist, but they weren't meant to cover amateur sport. That was how the court found. And so you've all got it right. So let's look at the scores. What have we got? Denise, you have 60 points. Derek, 65, and Brian is in the lead with 66 points. Right, see how you make out on this one. Case 2 is set in court, but of course on this show we tend to dispense with some of the more laborious legal procedure, or we'd be here all night. This particular case arose after a widow had called in a one-man building firm to convert her large house into 3 self-contained flatlets. Later, she found that she had been grossly overcharged, so she took the man to court under the Theft Act of 1968. Let's hear the details as counsel for the defence questions the lady concerned.
Mrs. Mason, the yellow pages are full of builders and decorators. Why did you pick on Mr. Hayward for the job?
I'd met him a couple of times when he did a lot of alterations at my husband's workshop.
Your late husband, that is. I take it you had seen the work and approved of the way it was done, and that your husband was quite satisfied with it?
Yes, I've no complaints about the quality of Mr. Hayward's work at all. I'm no expert, but as far as I know, it's all right. But he charged me double what the job is worth.
Things are worth different amounts to different people, Mrs. Mason. I doubt whether I'd pay more than a few thousand for a Rembrandt, but we know some people will pay millions.
You're talking about millionaires, not widows like me who have to watch their pennies. My husband's business went bust. That's what killed him. Now all I have in the world is the house. And there was the insurance money, but Mr. Hayward took most of that.
He did not take it, Mrs. Mason. You gave it to him.
Only because he tricked me into thinking that was a reasonable price for the job.
How do you think he tricked you?
He knew my circumstances. I told him what I wanted done and asked for his cheapest price. He told me that £19,500 was the lowest he could do it for, if I wanted it done properly.
Did you try to beat down Mr. Hayward's price at all?
Yes, I asked him if he could do it a little cheaper. He said that considering how awkward the job was and the amount of time involved, he was doing it more as a favour to me than anything. He said it was because my husband had given him work when he needed it.
But it wasn't just an oral declaration of the price. He did present you with a written estimate, did he not?
Yes, but it was in technical terms that I didn't really begin to understand. He assured me he was doing the best job possible. I trusted his word.
You handed over practically all the money you'd got from your late husband's insurance because, you say, you trusted a man you only met twice?
Henry was a shrewd man. If he used anyone more than once, it was because they were good and not over-expensive. That's why I trusted Mr. Hayward. And he robbed me blind.
That's for the court to decide, Mrs. Mason. I just want to establish 2 things. Firstly, Did Mr. Hayward charge you 1 penny more than the amount stated in his written estimate?
No, he knew I wouldn't have paid him if he had.
And when the work was completed, did you willingly, without pressure from my client, sign his piece of paper saying you were well satisfied with the work he had done?
Yes, he told me he'd be using it as a reference for a big conversion job he was after.
My lord, a copy of that paper with plaintiff's signature is available as an exhibit in this case. I've no more questions for Mrs. Mason, my lord.
I have, my lord. Mrs. Mason, how do you think Mr. Hayward arrived at that figure of 19,500 when we now have 2 estimates from other reliable builders for around half that figure?
I had mentioned to him just in conversation that Henry's insurance money would be about £20,000.
So he based his price on what he knew you had available, and then couched his estimate in terms a layman like yourself would not normally understand?
Yes, that's how I see it.
Why did you not ask advice about Mr. Hayward's estimate?
For the same reason I keep saying. I trusted him because he'd worked so much for my husband.
And you knew the care with which your husband spent his money. So after you found out you had been grossly overcharged and got in touch with your late husband's accountant, what did you find?
That the work Mr. Hayward had done on the workshop had been very reasonably priced.
You found that Mr. Hayward's long association with your husband was used to build up trust so the defendant could hoodwink you into parting with all that money.
Yes. I say he obtained my money by deception.
Well, panel, Mrs. Mason claims that by being overcharged, she was robbed. But what did the court say? Did they find in her favour or Mr. Hayward's? Denise, you first.
I don't know. It does seem it's caveat emptor or caveat builder in
Yes,
the case of...
let the buyer beware.
Well, yes, that one, you know, however much one trusts a builder, that you ought to get a few estimates yourself first. But, I mean, whether in law that's any argument against Mrs. Mason or not, it feels at the moment to me that she does have a case if the other estimates were half that price. But, no, I suppose maybe a steely court of law would say, bad luck, Mrs. Mason, search around next time, girl.
So are you going to be a steely court of law?
Oh, I don't... What do you think, fellas? What do you think? Oh, dear.
Looking for help now, are you?
Oh, dear. I can't be steely-hearted. I must go with Mrs. Mason. She's
You'll
a
go for
widow,
Mrs. Mason.
poor soul.
All right, Brian.
Well, I think Mr. Hayward's a splendid chap, trying to help his old friend's widow, and the work was very good. The widow agrees with that. So why she didn't get estimates before, that is the trouble. I think she had no case at all. Mr. Hayward, a good, honest builder. Next time I want anything done to my house, I'd like his telephone number so that I can... He won the case.
Well, it looks... well
Mr.
done,
Hayward.
Brian. You've got the audience on your side. They're all finding for Hayward as well. What about Derek Nimmo?
It is quite extraordinary. She spent that amount of money when we hear that she was only getting £20,000 from insurance money without getting an estimate. She was obviously a very foolish woman. But they do say about a jury has 12 people chosen to decide which one has got the best lawyer. And I feel perhaps there is a possibility that the widow might have had the best lawyer. But I've got a horrible feeling that the Theft Act of 1968 made the lawyer say, look, we'll get some money back for you. And I think perhaps they did. I'm only going to spend 5 points on it then.
So you're going to find for Mrs. Mason, are you?
I am.
Now we'll come to the points. Denise, Coffey, you find for Mrs. Mason. You have 60 points to bet. How many will you bet?
Oh, well, I think I'll only bet 7, I think, in this matter.
All right, 7 you shall bet. Brian Johnston, you find for Mr. Hayward. You think he's a splendid fella.
I know he is, and I'm going to bet 25 points that he
That's
won
what I
the
like
match.
to see, a man who puts his money where his mouth is. Well done, that man.
I've not played this game before. What happens to these points if we don't use them all?
Oh.
I mean, do
We
get
give them
any
to you at
money
the end
for
of the
them?
show.
Oh, well, perhaps... well, what did you say? 7?
You've got,
Well,
you have 65
I better
points.
say 8, just to be sort of adventurous.
All right,
I've got
then.
quite a lot left, haven't I, Ray?
You
How
have.
many
You've
more
got 60
games are there? I'm so sorry, I don't know.
You've got one more game to go after this.
Oh,
That's when
oh
we
well,
go.
9 then.
9. My God, he's going mad, isn't he? Right, Brian Johnston, you are the odd man out. You say that Mr. Hayward won. I'm here to tell you that Mrs. Mason won, because as a result of their long-standing relationship through her late husband, Mrs. Mason had trusted Mr. Hayward to act fairly and reasonably, the court said. And by quoting and charging a grossly excessive price, he had abused that trust, and that amounted to theft. they said. Well, Denise, you were very bold. You went for 7 points, so you've got 67 now. Derek, you did quite nicely out of that by going up to 9. You've now got 74 points.
Gosh.
But the bold Brian Johnston, 41 you're left with, Brian.
But I still don't know why they thought it was too expensive, just because 2 other people afterwards gave different estimates.
That was it.
How good builders were they?
That
Not
was
as good as
simply
Mr.
it.
Hayward, I bet.
No?
You're not related to this Mr. Hayward, are you? Very suspicious.
I will turn back to our panel and our actors in our third and final case tonight. Bad blood between husband and wife led to a third party winding up in the court. To hear how this came about, we'll join a landlady as she knocks on a lodger's door one morning.
Who is it?
It's me, Mr. Thomas. I brought up your mail. And there's another one of them funny ones here.
All right, Mrs. Leggett, I'm coming. Oh, I didn't realise it was 8:30 already. I must have overslept.
Here it is. Both sides of the envelope. Same handwriting as the other two.
What does it say this time? I haven't got my glasses on.
I should think you could see it without your glasses. It's bold enough. In thick felt tip there. On the front it says, "This man is an ex-convict."
Hey?
Yeah, and on the back it goes on, "He's also a child molester."
This is ridiculous. 4 letters in less than a fortnight with this sort of drivel all over the envelopes.
It's not true, that was it.
What's not true?
That you're an ex-convict. I only want respectable tenants in my house.
Of course it's not true. None of those things are true. I'm not a thief, child molester, drug addict, or wife batterer. Blimey, I've never even been married.
Oh, I was only asking. You know what they say? There's no smoke without fire. Someone must be doing this for a reason.
Yeah, spite. And I think I've an idea who it is.
Who?
Never you mind. I'll deal with this myself. And if I'm right about who's putting that rubbish on my letters, I'll soon put all to it, I can tell you.
Well, do it quick then. 1 or 2 of the other tenants have seen them and been asking awkward questions.
Don't worry. As soon as I've put some clothes on, I'll be down to the postal sorting office, sorting them out.
What are you going to do? Ask them to stop your mail?
No, just stop the fella that's doing it. He works there.
Oh.
My name's Boyd. I'm the supervisor. You wanted to see me?
Yeah. Look at these. I've been getting them in my mail recently.
That's nasty.
So is the bloke that wrote them. He's one of your staff here.
One of my staff? No, never. They wouldn't do anything like that. Well, it's more than the job's worth, tampering with the mail.
In that case, you'd better sack him. That libelous filth was written by Ted Simmons.
Ted Simmons? No way.
Yeah. His wife left him, and I've been seeing her a few times. This is his childish way of getting back at me.
No, Ted would never do a thing like this.
Look, I've just been to see his wife. She says that's his handwriting, all right. She'll stand up in court and swear to it.
Well, I'll look into it, of course, and if it is him, he's broken the rules, and I can assure you he will be dismissed.
He'll be sued. He's libelled me, and I want damages. I'm going to make him pay through the nose for this.
Yes, well, I can appreciate you being angry, Mr. Thomas. In your circumstances, I'd be quite peeved myself, but I'd suggest you be throwing good money after bad.
How do you mean, good money after bad?
Well, I happen to know Ted is broke. Well, perhaps I shouldn't tell you this, but earlier this week, he asked me for an advance on his wages to settle some bills.
So, if I sue him and he's got no money, I'd not only get no damages, I'd also wind up having to pay his legal costs as well as mine.
Well, yes, that's right.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of suing Simmons, I'll sue you people, the post office.
Now, that really would be an even bigger waste of money. We didn't libel you.
No, but one of your employees did it on your premises while being employed by you. So I'm holding the post office responsible.
And Mr. Thomas did take the post office to court for being, what is in legal terms, being vicariously liable. Now, I think I better explain this to you because the dictionary describes this, vicarious liability, as the liability of one person for wrongful acts committed by someone else. And this applies especially to the liability of an employer for acts committed by an employee in the course of his work. In other words, as Mr. Thomas said, responsible for the wrongful doings of one of their staff. Well, did he win, or did the post office win, and why? Brian?
The mail has been interfered with, and the responsibility of that is Mr. Boyd. He sounded very smug. I didn't like the sound of him at all.
Right.
And he must take responsibility for his staff. I think the post office are liable, and Mr. Boyd would be held responsible by the post office and would probably get demoted.
So
But
for whatever
anyhow,
Ted Simmons did?
I think Mr. Thomas would have won the case.
Right, good for you. Derek Nimmo, what do you think?
Well, when it went into court, did we find out whether he was, in fact, an ex-convict?
No, he's not.
He's not.
No,
He
he's
wasn't
not.
a child
This was
molester.
simply spite from Ted
Simply
Simmons,
spite.
who was determined.
I don't see how the post office can in any way be responsible for the action of an employee myself. It seems to be extraordinarily unlikely that they in any way could have prevented this. Well, I would have thought the action ought to have been brought against Mr. Simmons and not against the post office. And if it brought the action against Mr. Simmons, and if it had been proven that it was his writing, then I'm sure Mr. Thomas would have won. But to bring the action against the post office, it seems to be unlikely. Yet, again, of course, he could have had a very smart lawyer, like the last one, and this little act which we've just heard about could be the one that made all the difference. I shall, just at the moment, I'll rest my case.
You're going to find for the post office in this case? You don't
I
think
think
they
so.
could be responsible for Ted
No, I
Simmons?
don't think they're responsible.
All right, then. Denise Coffey, how do you feel about this, having listened to these two erudite gentlemen?
The question of tampering with the mails came up early on, and that seems to me what the charge would be. If a sorter in the mail office does actually write something different upon the cover of the letter, then I suppose that's tampering with the mail. So I think I'd find for the dubious Mr. Thomas.
Oh, you do? So you think he would make it, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so, Brian, you have found for...
Mr. Thomas wins,
Mr. Thomas,
definitely.
do you think Mr.
Yes,
Thomas
the buck
would...
stops at Mr. Boyd's desk.
Exactly, so you're down on the post office. You, first and foremost, you got 41 points, but all could come marvellous for you.
Well,
Now,
yes,
41.
I'm definitely backing Mr. Thomas to win, and I'm going to put 33 points on it. Oh, yes, I mean,
Well,
quite
I
obvious.
never... Derek Nimmo, you are the odd man out in this
I'm
particular
not
case.
awfully convinced now, having listened to that, but I'll go 20.
20, all right then.
23.
Denise Coffey, what will you put on? 67, you also.
Yeah, well, I think, and on the basis that the case was found because he tampered with the mail, I'm going to put 66 points on.
Are you?
Yes.
That's very
It's only a
good.
game, isn't it?
So, two of you say Mr. Thomas won. Derek Nimmo is the odd man out, says the post office won. I can tell you Mr. Thomas lost his case. The post office won.
What a disgrace.
Because the court held that the doctrine of vicarious liability was necessary for the reasonable protection of innocent third parties, but that out of fairness, employers' limits had to be set. Their employee, the post office, that is, Ted Simmons in this case, acted wholly unauthorized, and therefore the post office was not vicariously liable for it. In other words, his supervisor didn't know what he was up to, so therefore you couldn't hold the post office.
Yes,
Mr. Boyd should have done.
Yeah,
Mr. Boyd
yeah.
should have done, but there
I
you are.
expect
That's
they
where
won
the
on
court
appeal,
found.
though.
Yes, I'm sure, Thomas. Send it to the law.
Let's see how you're doing. Derek, you're way ahead there with 94 points. No doubt about that whatsoever. Brian, you're a close second. You've got 8 points. And Denise, you've got 1 point to go home with now. That's all the cases we've got time for tonight. But here's a brief hint of one we'll be covering next week. It concerns a young couple buying a house who paid for, as one usually has to, the Building Society's survey of the premises. Now, they asked for a copy of that survey, and they bought the house on the strength of it. But the survey wasn't correct, and they sued the surveyor. Now, did they win or did they not? Well, tune in next week and find out. Until then, I would just say good night on behalf of tonight's celebrity panel of Brian Johnston, Denise Coffey, and Derek Nimmo, our resident repertory company, who are Paul Sirr, Diana Olsson, and Richard Tate, deviser and writer Brad Ashton, legal advisor Doug Cracknell, producer Lissa Evans, and finally, me too, Shaw Taylor. Bye-bye for now.
And there'll be 3 more cases for you to judge in the law game at the same time next week. Next tonight, after the news, Brian Matthew and Round Midnight.
Radio 2.
The time now, 11 o'clock, at the news desk, Len Jackson.
The Supreme Court in Dublin has ordered the extradition to Northern Ireland of one of the Republican prisoners involved in the mass escape from the Maze prison in 1983. He's Robert Russell, who'd been serving a 20-year sentence for attempted murder. It's thought the decision will make it more difficult for anyone accused of a terrorist crime to fight extradition on the grounds that their offence was politically motivated.